When I had debilitating anxiety, I learned very specific steps and lessons that helped me to overcome the anxiety. My name is Carla Metzdorf. I am a certified health and life coach that works with moms to overcome anxiety. And today I want to share with you those steps and lessons that I learned so that you could take them as well. So, the first step in anything that I do is to grow in awareness. Awareness is key because what I learned was you cannot overcome what you don't know, what you don't understand. So, I made sure I understood specifically what anxiety was, why was I struggling with it, and then how to overcome it. And the lesson that I learned is that the mindset that I had that started the anxiety, I wasn't going to overcome anxiety with that same mindset. I had to change it. You can't overcome anxiety with that same mindset, having the same beliefs, the same thoughts that started the mindset. You have to change them in order to overcome anxiety. So one of the things I practiced was loving myself. In other words, instead of being negative about who I was and about the progress I was making, I was always down on myself and being negative. I changed that. I learned to love and respect myself and treat myself like my own best friend. And when I started doing that, I made better decisions for myself and took better care of myself. The second step that I took that really helped me overcome anxiety was after I grew in awareness, I had acceptance. Now, acceptance means that instead of fighting the anxiety, instead of always wanting the anxiety to go away, because I'd be like, why do I have this? When is this going to end? I don't understand why I'm this way. Why God? Why me? Please heal me. I had enough of this. I'd always be complaining about it. But when I started acceptance, in other words, I started allowing the anxiety to be there, feeling it for what it is, and instead of wanting it to go away, I just accepted it for what it was and I let it be. When I learned to do that, the anxiety was started to dissipate. So the lesson I learned is anything that I resist will persist. So I might as well just accept it. The third step was to take some kind of action. Because as I'm growing in awareness and accepting what I'm feeling, I also have to take actions to reprogram. Because we want to change that mindset, right? But we're not going to change it if we don't take very specific actions. So I learned to regain control of my thoughts, of my feelings, because I felt I had no control of those. My thoughts were all over the place, and I felt like I had no control of how I was feeling. And I was always feeling quite lousy. But those are the two things that you definitely can control. How you're thinking, and how you're feeling, and then you could control your response. I was being overreactive to everything. Once I started gaining control of my thinking, of the way I was feeling, I was no longer reacting towards things, but now I was responding. I was responding with a controlled response. I was practicing patience where I had no patience. I wanted anxiety gone from my life. And as I was working to overcome anxiety, taking specific actions, I was getting really impatient because it was not happening when I wanted it to happen in my own timing. But it doesn't always work that way, right? So you become frustrated with yourself and with the progress that's being made. But if you practice patience and you give yourself that care, you give yourself grace, You set goals for yourself. What is it that I want to experience in my present moment? Set those goals, practice patience, and you undoubtedly will start responding differently to things in life. Okay? But you're not going to get there without doing step 4. Step 4 basically is practice implementation. So when I say practice, okay, in order to reprogram, okay, you need to do something consistently. You can't just do something once and twice and say, well, it's not working. Because your brain resists change. It's going to fight you. So you have to push through that. And you have to do something over and over consistently for the brain to realize that you're trying to make change and that you're safe doing that. Because if the brain thinks you're not safe, it's going to consistently put stress chemicals into your body, and you're always going to stay in that fight or flight stage. So, do something through implementation. In other words, if you don't implement, then the things that you're learning, as you grow in awareness, okay, you're learning. But if you don't implement what you learn, it goes in one ear and out the other. Implementation is very, very important. Implementation is really, what are you practicing? What are you doing over and over and getting good at doing? If you want a different result, you got to practice something different. You get good at whatever it is that you practice. You might as well practice what's going to get you results. And that's the lesson that I learned. What am I practicing? What am I good at? And I was really good at being negative. Did I really want to be good at being negative? Absolutely not. So I had to learn to practice being positive, to practice gratitude, to practice being patient, to practice making change. Because what I learned too is if you want to change, you got to take that action to make the change, right? So practice makes perfect. Well, not perfect. I don't want to say that. Practice doesn't make perfect because there's no such thing as perfect. We're not striving for perfection, okay? We're striving for results. Practice gets results. Implementation, okay, will get you results. Without that, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to go right back to who you were, what you were doing, and feel anxiety over and over and over again. Now, the 4th step, okay, is to never give up and be a conqueror. Now, I put that in there because as you're doing these steps, there are times you're going to want to give up because you're going to tell yourself, this is hard. You're going to tell yourself, I don't have what it takes. You're going to tell yourself, it's impossible to overcome anxiety, and I'm just going to give up. So you can't give up because, as I said before, the brain's going to fight you, and you have to have that awareness that this is going to happen. So develop a mindset of a conqueror. A conqueror is someone that no matter what they're going through, whatever the thoughts are telling them, whatever they're feeling, they push through. Quitting is never an option. Because to quit means to be stuck forever, and you don't want that. You want to overcome anxiety. Develop the mindset of a conqueror. Be a conqueror. And the lesson I learned from that, now, I always believed in a higher power. Always believed in a higher power. But I didn't have a relationship with God. My higher power, I call God. And I I had to develop that relationship with him, because you're not going to overcome anxiety, okay? If you listen to your thoughts, the negative thoughts, all right? The brain is going to fight you. And you're going to feel alone. But if you believe in a higher power, you know you're not alone. And I knew I wasn't alone. And the more I trusted in that higher power, the better, the stronger I felt. The more patient I became, the stronger I felt, the more I trusted in myself, and the more I felt peace, and the quicker I overcame anxiety. So, just a quick recap here. First, grow in awareness. Second, have acceptance. Okay? Acceptance. Don't fight it. Have acceptance. Third, take some kind of action. Okay? To make a change, you got to take action. 4, implementation. Whatever you practice, whatever you do is what you're going to get good at. Okay? It doesn't matter what kind of action you take if you're not going to keep it up, if you're not going to be consistent with it. Stay the course. 4, never give up. Be a conqueror. Develop that mindset, that attitude. Attitude has to change. Forget the negativity. Tell yourself, I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to take good care of myself, and I'm going to be a conqueror. I am a conqueror. Write it on a piece of paper. Put it all over your house. I am a conqueror. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm more than a conqueror. Okay? That is what's going to help you get through all of this. Take care. Be well. Bye.